What's up, everybody? Matt Maran here for another weekly update. So there is tons of news to go over this week, so I'm going to get right into it with an unexpected follow-up on last week's news. I was talking about the 370Z and how, they're saying that they don't want to let the nameplate die, and, there's something coming eventually. So we have what is something that's not an actual next-gen version, but some new 370Z variant. Now, it's just a concept, most likely. But Nissan has officially teased the 370Z Ki, which, as you might be able to see, looks like ski. And it has just a teaser video. You don't even see the car. You just hear the VQ motor and a bunch of sliding around in the snow. And then at the end, it has ZKI. And so we know that Nissan has this enjoyment with doing snow versions of its vehicles. They already made the Juke RS Snow last year, and so they're teasing this new 370 version coming at Chicago, which is actually going to be next week. And so chances are maybe it'll have some skis on the front instead of wheels, and maybe some tank tire tread things in the rear there, for a cool little thing. Now, they could actually use this as an opportunity, though, to show some type of refresh, maybe for a 370Z, not officially, but kind of like a fun concept-y extreme version that would then get toned down. Because another follow-up to this 370Z news is last week, at some point, Automotive News did an interview with the Chief Planning Officer, Felipe Klein, from Nissan, and he also was kind of reiterating some of what the other person at Nissan was saying that I talked about last week. But Felipe here is saying, the Z is a difficult market. It is rather shrinking worldwide, but we still believe there is a place for the Z and we want to keep it alive, and that's what we're working on. So they're working on something Z already. And he said that's for the midterm. For the long term, there are other considerations. If we do a complete new vehicle, what should it be to keep the passion alive? And he's kind of just asking in this interview, we're trying to figure out what it is we're actually going to do for a full next-gen version. But they're not going to kill off the Z. There's been rumors the Z is just going to die since it's now like 10 years old. But no, they're going to do another refresh. Hopefully it'll be kind of like the Nissan GT-R refresh, where they give it, a nice, newer, more modern Nissan interior that has a lot of the other stuff that current Nissans have, better infotainment, a little more luxurious interior and things like that. So maybe something like that, rework the interior most likely, maybe a tweak to the front and rear bumpers, taillights maybe, who knows. But that, they say, is coming midterm. So at some point here, not super soon, but maybe even before the end of the year, could be later, could be sooner, we'll have to wait and see. But we're actually going to get a refresh, which is some interesting new news about the 370Z. Because the performance is still there. Horsepower wise and stuff, it's not bad. It's kind of a midway point between the lower end muscle cars, with their smaller engines, and the top of the line ones. It's kind of a middle ground, which I think is kind of a cool niche. Because with even the Mustang, for example, you've got a large chasm between the 310 horsepower EcoBoost and the 460 now horsepower GT. There's a lot of space in between there where there could be something else. The 370Z fills that gap. So I can see that although they hardly sell any 370Zs, I think a refresh would certainly help to kind of invigorate it a little bit more, even though, it would be nice to see a completely new car. Sounds like we're going to be waiting a little while for that, but at least they're still going to be showing it a little bit of love and updating the interior to a respectable level for 2018. So that's interesting to see there. Another vehicle that everyone wants to come back, the Honda S2000. Now, there's a couple of reports going back and forth this week. AutoGuide was reporting that a Honda guy from Honda Canada said they're never doing an S2000, just forget about it, and completely slammed the door shut on that possibility. But Jalopnik did a little bit of following up and actually reached out to someone from American Honda, the North American division, for the United States here. And they said that doesn't represent what they're thinking, what they're saying. The Honda Canada isn't really involved in the decision-making too much, and so what they have to say doesn't really play into what's coming to America. But it's not as hopeful, but there still is a little bit of hope they're keeping alive. And they kind of gave some good insight, too, as to what's going on here. Basically, this American source told Jalopnik that Honda is full of car enthusiasts, and they all are constantly proposing new ideas for an S2000. What if we did this? What if we did that? And trying to find some way to justify it, trying to find some way to make a business case to make it, something that's worthwhile to bring back. Obviously, the enthusiasts within Honda, which are apparently there's many of them, would love to build this car, but just because they want to make it doesn't mean that from a business standpoint they can, which I think kind of makes a whole lot more sense. Instead of just being like, they're these big bad guys that are just, out to make money, it's just like, no, we're a company, we can't afford to lose money either, and so as much as even we want to do a new one, if the market won't allow it, and if people aren't going to buy it in enough numbers, then, they can't make a car that they're only going to sell 500 of or something. So anyway, but they did say that though, people within the company had been pushing for a Civic Type R for years and years and years, and that finally did happen. Now, obviously, selling a front-wheel drive hot hatchback, it's a lot of a hotter market than a convertible small rear-wheel drive sports car, on a unique platform. So it's a lot more challenging, but it's still just the precedent is there that, if someone comes up with the right S2000 idea, or if changes in the market allow it, it's something they want to do, but just whenever they're able to, I guess, so it certainly it makes it seem a lot more understandable, and I can certainly appreciate that. So that's the scoop on the S2000 and if there will ever be a new one. Maybe someday. The actual quote he says here is, but as of right now, there are no current plans for an actual introduction, but never say never. So that's what they're saying. They would love to do one someday, and we'll just have to wait and see. But anyway, in the meantime, just go out and buy the old ones. There's plenty of used ones for sale. If you really want an S2000, buy one of those and enjoy it, because even by modern standards, they're fantastic, they're fast, they're fun, and well worth owning. I actually almost bought one a long time ago because I really love them that much. Other news here, though, getting on to some new vehicles that are actually being developed. Supercar News, which is a YouTube channel, they posted some pictures here of a new Lamborghini Aventador that was looking very aggressive, and looks like a follow-up to the SV. So whatever this variant's going to be called, it had a large rear spoiler that's new that, the SV didn't have quite as extreme of a rear spoiler. And this spoiler almost looks like it's right off of the Veneno that Lamborghini made a couple of years ago. Anyway, you can also see there it's going to have a higher mounted exhaust similar to the Huracan Performante. They're saying this could be potentially called an Aventador Performante, but the Performante name has usually been reserved for the Huracan and Gallardo before that. So whether or not they give it some kind of new name, they already used the SV name, so they're kind of, unless they just do another SV, I don't think anyone would object to that either. But since they've already done an Aventador SV, it's kind of, they're in a little bit of a conundrum as far as naming goes. So we'll have to wait and see what they're doing, but that looks pretty close to being production ready. And interestingly, there's rumors that it could show up as soon as the Geneva Motor Show next month, which would be convenient timing because Ferrari's planning on showing their 488 GTO or 488 Special Series or whatever it is that they're going to be calling their new high-end, super fast, stripped-out version of the 488. And so if both of those are revealed, it'd be like perfect head-to-head duels there with the Italian car makers in Geneva. So we'll have to wait and see. But anyway, interesting to see and hear that. Lotus, their CEO, sat down with Car Magazine this past week to talk about future product plans. And so it's pretty interesting. They're saying that he revealed there's going to be 2 new sports cars in 2020, and then their SUV, which is we've already seen a patent image of what that looks like. That's going to be coming in 2021 or 2022, and that's mostly to help finance so they can continue building those fun sports cars, which is understandable. And so they said one car will be a replacement for an existing car, most likely the Elise, which exited the American market in 2011, and people really love the Elise, and there's strong resale value even for the current old gen still. So but that would be an aluminum chassis, they say. And then there's also going to be another limited edition track focused car with a new carbon fiber chassis, and that's going to slot above the Evora in price and be the new flagship for Lotus. And that's the other second totally new car that's coming around 2020, which is not too far off here. So yeah, those are the 3 vehicles they're planning now. They have financing, from Geely, which are the same backers as Volvo, and you see how they've turned Volvo around, and hopefully they can do the same thing for Lotus. But anyway, interesting to see that. Another British automaker is McLaren. They have some new news this week. They're building 10 of these McLaren MSO X cars, is what they're calling them, but it's based on the 570S GT4 Le Mans car. And these were actually commissioned by McLaren Newport Beach, who I guess had some clients that wanted these, and so they put a batch together and said, hey, let's do all these. And so basically, they wanted a car that's going to be a trackable car, but you can also still drive it on the streets. But they completely stripped the interior. You see it has the advanced aero with those hood scoops. It even has a roof scoop, all to direct air into that engine. You know, very, very extreme and hardcore, but is road legal, which is very cool. Now, no price was given, but with, you know, McLaren, they'll build you just about anything you want if you pay enough. So, you know, with these bespoke cars, you know, it's just, if you have to ask how much it costs, you can't afford it. But anyway, interesting to see that. Speaking of limited run production vehicles, Rezvani, you know, they make the Beast, which is this very extreme but very lightweight little supercar that weighs only about 2,000 pounds and usually makes, I think, like 450 or 500 odd horsepower. But they revealed the Rezvani Beast Alpha X Blackbird. They're only making 5 of these, and one's already been reserved by some MMA fighter, and so there's only 4 left. But anyway, it uses a 2.5 liter 4-cylinder engine. Usually that's supercharged in the regular Beast, but in this, it's a 2.5 liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine that makes 700 horsepower out of a 2.5 liter turbo force, basically an STI motor in size, 700 horsepower. And yes, it's pretty extreme. They said they uses some Cosworth bits. They have some other stuff. It sounds like it's almost like a rally car engine or something that they're putting into this thing. You can either go with a 6-speed manual or a sequential 6-speed automated manual with paddle shifters. So sounds basically like a rally car in supercar styling here. 2.9 seconds 0 to 60, and these are actually only going to cost $225,000, which for the extreme styling and the extreme performance, that's not a bad deal, honestly. Again, super rare and probably very hard to, you know, get your hands on and insure and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, pretty cool there, and who knows, maybe they'll make a few more of them if the demand is there. But anyway, cool to see that. And for a more normal car that is coming here very soon, Mercedes has teased officially the production version of the A-Class, and the reveal is actually happening this Friday here in Amsterdam. Now, unfortunately, I filmed these on Thursday, so I don't have all the info on it just yet, but of course, you're going to want to follow me on social media if you want to stay up to date on all this kind of stuff, especially Twitter, @MattMaran. That's where I really, retweet all the news stories as they're happening and stuff if you want to stay on top of everything. But anyway, new A-Class can be revealed. Now, there's going to be a hatchback as well as a sedan. We're only going to get the sedan here in the States, and it's going to be priced under $30,000 supposedly here for the sedan, which is really impressive considering, I mean, it looks just like all the other Mercedes. Almost looks like the CLS there in the front. Very cool looks, and we also already have seen the interior, which does not look like a $30,000 car interior. I don't know how they must really strip down the interior for a $30,000 model, because that is a really, really nice interior that, you know, would be fitting in something that's double the price. So not sure how they're going to justify that business-wise, but anyway, it sounds like a very impressive package, and I'll have all the details for you guys, of course, in next week's video for sure. Other Mercedes news, though, is Automobile Magazine has a very interesting report here on the next-gen Mercedes SL. So, a bunch of interesting headlines here, but first thing is it's going to be moving to a mostly aluminum MSA platform, which is one of those, modular Mercedes platforms. It's going to save over 330 pounds over the old SL. But here's the weird thing, is they're planning on the SL getting back seats. Usually it's just a 2-seater. It's going to have back seats and a soft top, which basically is going to make it basically the same offering as an S-Class Cabriolet or the S-Class Coupe, same kind of deal. So it's like, if you're going to do that, isn't there going to be some kind of overlap? But the rumors are interesting because they're saying that this might be an AMG exclusive model with the SL, and there might not be any standard Mercedes versions. So that would mean that it's more aggressive and sportier. But then how do you not step on the toes of the Mercedes AMG, GTC, convertible and stuff like that? But anyway, it continues on here in the report. It says it's going to be a front mid-engine placement, which is similar to the AMG GT, where it's very far set back into the front nose there, right up against the firewall. And then they're also saying that it's going to have lower positioning for the engine and transmission. So it's going to make it be a much more dynamic vehicle than it is currently. Currently, it's just a very fast cruiser. And so I think they want to change that with this one and make it a better handler as well. Not sure why, because I feel like that's the AMG GT's niche. But again, I don't claim to understand it. I'm just reporting it. But anyway, other interesting things here. They're saying it's going to offer all-wheel drive and rear-wheel steering for the SL, which again, it's just crazy to think of for some type of little roadster, and that might also be highly differentiated from the AMG GT if it has all-wheel drive. And according to the report, the styling is described as butch, almost mean-looking sports car, which is a really weird way to phrase that. Almost mean-looking, so it's not going to be mean-looking, but almost, but then calling it butch is really bizarre. Anyway, they said there's going to be lots of aggressive elements, more scoops and angles, and, angry-looking headlights and stuff, I'm sure. Other things here. Now, the engine choices are still up in the air. There's two different trains of thought. The first is if this is an AMG only model, then it's just AMG's straight through, where it's an SL43, SL53, SL63, and then a new SL73 to top it out instead of the SL65. But the thing with that is if they were doing those AMG ones, there would be no V12. They said the highest rung would be a V8 with a hybrid powertrain. And so that hybrid powertrain, though, it would do, so the V8 alone with twin turbo would do, supposedly, according to this report, I don't know where they're getting these numbers, but 612 horsepower, plus it's going to have a 204 horsepower E-motor for an electric boost, and so combined output's going to be over 800 horsepower for this new SL. Now, again, just a rumor. So yeah, but then the base model will be like a 435 horsepower, 3-liter inline-6 turbo. And then you have, like I said, the varying degrees of horsepower and whatnot with a mix of V8 and inline-6. Then Autocar has another report on the SL where they're seeming to think that it's going to be a more regular Mercedes model, at least on the lower end, where you have an SL 300, 400, 500, and then the SL 63 and 65. And Autocar believes there will still be a twin-turbo or bi-turbo V12 in that SL65. So it's either going to go real traditional or real radical. With Mercedes and trying to be futuristic with their push for EVs and stuff, I feel like they might go for the more extreme, all AMG lineup, but we'll have to wait and see. Just depends on how they want to market it. Anyway, interesting to hear all that. Another AMG model that we're going to be seeing much sooner is the G63. So we just saw the G-Wagon revealed at the Detroit Auto Show. And so it's looking like the AMG one's going to be revealed in Geneva next month, the Geneva Motor Show. At least the 63 for now, which just does the twin-turbo V8. We'll probably see a twin-turbo V12 down the road eventually, but I don't know if that's going to be revealed here alongside the 63 or not. But anyway, interesting to hear that. Other SUV news and a possible performance variant is the Truth About Cars this past week is reporting on the next-gen Ford Explorer, which is going to be moving, according to them, to a new modular rear-wheel drive platform. And so this all-new version of the Explorer is going to be coming next year as a 2020 model. They're going to start building it sometime in the middle of next year. And so, interesting thing about the rear-wheel drive, but more interesting thing is it's also going to get an ST version, they're saying, to, go alongside the Edge ST, and, I guess they're doing more of these performance SUVs, which makes sense considering the SUV craze currently. But anyway, this modular platform is also going to be the basis for a new Lincoln SUV of a similar size, so I think they trademarked the Aviator name last year. The Aviator was a smaller Explorer-based Lincoln that was on sale about 10 years ago and has since been killed off, but I think they might be bringing that back. It might overlap the Nautilus, which is the new MK X revival that they changed the name and gave it a refresh styling. But I feel like this might be a little bit larger, and so I think that might be what they're planning as far as the Lincoln version, but that's just speculation on my part. All-wheel drive is also, of course, going to be available along with rear-wheel drive on this platform. And according to the Truth About Cars, they're saying it's to be offered in 4 different powertrain options here. So there's going to be a 2.3-liter turbo 4-cylinder, the EcoBoost motor. The 3.5-liter V6 is actually going to be killed off and replaced with a 3.3-liter naturally aspirated V6, which is the current base engine in the F-150. That's going to be the second motor up. And then there's also going to be on offer a 3-liter twin-turbo V6, the same one that's in the Lincolns currently, in the Continental and the MKZ. That's going to be thrown in, but in those Lincolns, it has 400 horsepower, 400 pound-feet of torque. In the Explorer, it's going to do more than that because this is the motor that's going to be for the ST model. So if they do an Explorer ST, it's going to be over 400 horsepower. So it should have plenty of grunt to get up and go. So that should be cool. And then the fourth option is going to be a hybrid variant they're going to have as well. And that they said would have, better range than their current hybrids and, be improved. And not sure what engine that would end up using. But anyway, all these we get a 10-speed automatic, same one as the F-150 and the Mustang whenever these do actually go on sale. So anyway, interesting to hear that. Some other Ford news is the European Ford Focus. We have a little more information on when that's going to be revealed. It's going to be revealed in April. They're skipping the Geneva Motor Show, and they're going to have a standalone Ford event where they're going to reveal this new Focus. So it'll be similar, with those smaller Fords like the Fiesta. The new Fiesta was already officially revealed for Europe, but we're not getting the Fiesta here, so it's kind of a disjointed thing. So as far as, if our Focus is going to look similar or not, it remains to be seen. All these Focus spy shots we've seen so far are only overseas. I don't think Focus has been spotted in the States yet. So I think the US version might be delayed and be a little bit later on. But for this European version, there's going to be standard models, but they did say an ST model will be coming down the road, at least for Europe. And also, the European Focuses will continue to be built in Germany, where they currently are. But the U.S. model that's currently built, I think in Michigan actually, is not going to be built there starting in mid-2018. They're going to end production. And then the U.S. Focuses will be built in China, supposedly, with production starting mid-2019 for those. So that means, even though the European version is going to be revealed here in April, if they're not building the US version until the middle of next year, chances are you're going to be seeing the new Focus, most likely the Detroit Auto Show of 2019, about a year from now. So interesting to hear all that. We'll have to wait and see. Of course, it could be moved up. It could be sooner. We'll have to wait and see. But anyway, interesting to hear that. And the last little bit of Ford news that sounds a little bit nightmarish, but it's just an idea for now, is Ford has filed a patent for an autonomous police car. And they gave some interesting details about it here, which kind of is, I don't know, just makes me, it's like a scary glimpse into the future almost. Because they say this isn't happening anytime soon. This is just a patent they want to, claim and have the idea for so they can use it down the road. But anyway, they detailed it here as being able to hide, detect, and chase down speeders and other lawbreakers, such as people around stop signs and things like that. And it can also issue warnings and give fines. So basically, whenever it is pursuing you or it's behind you with its lights on, it would communicate with your car automatically to find out if you were driving or if your car was in autonomous mode. And I guess if it's in autonomous mode, I'm not sure how that would handle, as far as who's blamed for that. But they said if you were driving, your car would have a copy of your license that it could automatically send to the autonomous police car, which would check it out, make sure everything's good, and then it would wirelessly send a warning or ticket to your car, and you would download your speeding ticket or whatever, which, again, sounds just absolutely awful. But anyway, Ford said they wanted to automate this and do this autonomous police car idea just so that actual police officers can focus on tasks that can't be automated. So, they want to make sure that everyone that, all the police officers are actually doing things that are, important, that, while just sitting on the side of the road getting speeders, if they just want to rack up dollars or whatever for the government, they can just have a computer do that for them, which terrifies me because it means that if you don't have to employ people to sit in these police cars and just have the cars doing their own autonomous things, I feel like there's going to be way more speed traps and they're going to try and get way more speeders. And with autonomous cars being more and more common, these things are really going to crack down on the few of us that still want to actually drive our cars and don't want to be doing 55 miles an hour on the right lane with every other autonomous car. So, yes, but I don't want to go off on a tangent too much here. So that is, the extent of that patent. Again, just a patent, thankfully. Hopefully they never use it or, it's very, very far away. But they also are saying that these things could be manned as well. So of course there are times where you have to pull someone over and give them a breathalyzer test or do an actual search of the car or something. And so they said that police officers could also ride in these as well. So could be a mix of both. But anyway, either way, it sounds awful to me. And but anyway, interesting to see that. Anyway, moving on from the scary news, some interesting news here. Hyundai has officially announced pricing for the 2018 Kona ahead of their Super Bowl advertisement they're going to be doing supposedly this Sunday. But anyway, pricing's really aggressive. It's going to be starting at $20,385, including destination for a front-wheel drive SE trim, which is the base model, of course. 2-liter naturally aspirated 4-cylinder in that one, and a 6-speed automatic is what's included there. $1,300 will get you all-wheel drive in any of the trims. The top of the line Ultimate all-wheel drive, which has a 1.6-liter turbo engine and has like I think a semi-automatic 6-speed. That one in all-wheel drive trim is going to be just under $31,000. So you could load them up to get a little more expensive, but I think the large amount of people are going to be fine with the 4-cylinder. And this, 6-speed auto is regular. I think that's going to be the volume seller, and those, low $20,000 will sell like hotcakes, I think. And anyway, they're going to be on sale next month, so they'll be seeing these things all over the place very soon. Other Hyundai news, though, is they also showed some sketches for the 2019 Sante Fe, which is going to be revealed at the Geneva Motor Show. So, yeah, it looks like a larger Kona in the front, pretty similar, but really good-looking styling. I got to say, Hyundai's really on top of their styling. Them and Kia are really making some good-looking vehicles recently. And the back end also looks good, a little more sculpted than a lot of the other more bland, large SUVs out there these days. And so yeah, we'll see that revealed next month. Other news from the same company here, Genesis was spied. They're trying to do their new luxury brand with the unique vehicles, and so they were spied testing a current gen Santa Fe Sport, but it's just a mule. It's just a rough shell just to test the platform underneath and whatnot, and that's why you'll see that they've chiseled out the front fenders and moved those front wheels much further forward and elongated the hood there kind of roughly just to cover the engine and stuff, because they want to test that longer front end that this Genesis mid-sized SUV is going to have. So this will most likely be like the middle SUV. They're like a mid-sized 2-row SUV. They'll have a larger 3-row and a smaller 2-row, of course. It'll hopefully the final design will look similar to the GV80 concept that we saw, about a year or two ago. Because that did look pretty cool. But anyway, this test mule even had a window sticker conveniently in it, showing that it's running a 3.5-liter engine. Now this could be a bored-out version of the 3.3-liter turbo engine that's in like the Genesis G80 Sport, but I mean that already does 365 horsepower, and I don't envision this thing needing more power than that for a mid-sized 2-row SUV. So I think a better bet is this is possibly a scaled-down version of a 3.8-liter V6, kind of to be like a base motor, kind of deal with a little less power maybe. So anyway, we'll have to wait and see, but they're saying this could arrive as soon as the 2020 model year, so next year is the 2019. In addition to this, other Genesis news is they said they're building around 100 new Genesis retailers here in 2018, with the eventual goal being standalone dealerships coming over the next 3 years. And they want to just make the Genesis experience more unique and more upscale, similar to like having a Lexus dealer or something. They're not attached to Toyota dealers usually. They want to kind of separate the two brands, which certainly makes sense. But anyway, interesting to see that. Another 2-row midsize SUV that's being worked on is Automotive News is reporting that Honda is likely bringing back the Passport name for a new larger 2-row V6, most likely SUV, or at least offered with a V6, to sit in between the CR-V and the Pilot. Now the Passport, you might remember, if you're from the 90s, you remember the old 90s Honda Passports, which were based on an Isuzu. So this is, they basically just want to have something that slots in between. So you have the CR-V with its small little 4-cylinder, and then you have the massive Pilot, which, I mean, isn't super huge, by certain standards, but it does have a 3-row configuration and whatnot. So having a larger 2-row makes sense because you want to fill in that gap so you don't have such a large space. And Passport really fits in with Pilot. Passport kind of differentiates those larger ones from the HRV and CRV, little smaller ones. So I think it actually will fit in really well. And Automotive News is reporting this is likely arriving this fall at the LA Auto Show, so pretty soon here, and it's going to have a 2019 release. And This is further supported by the fact that Honda trademarked the Passport name just, I think, last year. So this is something or it might have been a couple of years ago, but this is something Honda seems like they've been having in the works, or at least they have the name in the back of their head for a while here. And so most likely we'll be seeing that not too long from now. Other Honda crossover news in this very hot segment. Everyone's rushing to get into this segment. Acura has renewed the trademark for the CDX name in the United States. So CDX has been available in China since 2016. But it has been made available here. They said, oh, there's different regulations for China, so we're not sure if we can bring it over. Almost like they're playing coy, even though we know, like, duh, it's a small crossover that Acura doesn't have. Of course, they're going to bring it over here as fast as possible because people are buying up these small crossovers like they're going out of style. It's crazy. So that's what they're basically doing is they're just bringing over the Chinese CDX, it sounds like, which is actually just based on the Honda HR-V, but it has the larger engine. So the HR-V currently, I think, only have like a 1.8 liter naturally aspirated four-cylinder. The CDX, at least in China, has the 1.5 liter turbo out of the Civic and CR-V, so it has a little more power. So the Acura would definitely have an edge over the HR-V, just even if they're based on the same platform and they're both front-wheel drive. At least you'd have more power in the Acura version, and also the Acura version would most likely offer all-wheel drive as well. And it does look good based on the current CDX. I'm sure we'd probably get a refreshed version here once they finally brought it over. But anyway, it sounds like since they renewed the trademark in the United States, they've definitely cleared those hurdles, that whatever they were, and this will most likely be coming very soon. Could be even as soon as the LA Auto Show. As soon as they can get this thing out, the better, though, I'm sure, for them, because Lexus is hot on their tail. They have the same exact idea. Lexus has Toyota has the CHR, which is front-wheel drive based, little small crossover everyone seems to love, and Lexus says, well, hey, we can make a nicer version of that, so that's what they're doing. Car Magazine saying that Lexus will actually reveal a production version of the UX concept. That was what was supposed to preview the styling, which is almost as extreme looking as the CHR already. I'm sure the production version, even though it's going to be toned down, will also look very extreme. Anyway, this would be front-wheel drive based, low $30,000 crossover. Lexus has said that they would never sell a vehicle less than $30,000, but then the NX crossover is like $35,000. So chances are they'll price this, I don't know, $31,000, $32,000, and give themselves a nice little cushion there beneath the NX. And but apparently they're going to be showing this, I believe, at the Geneva Motor Show is when this is going to be arriving in a production version. But anyway, it's going to also be coming to the U.S. almost certainly because we have the CHR and Americans are more rabid about these small crossovers than anybody else, I think. And so Lexus has already trademarked, by the way, the UX200, UX250, and UX250H way back in 2016. So this has been in the works for a while and sounds like we'll be seeing that relatively soon. So anyway, interesting to hear all of that, but that's not the end of all the small crossover news. I apologize for all of you enthusiasts, but Cadillac has been spied testing their XT4 yet again, and this time we have more production-ready styling with production headlights and taillights. And the headlights look good. They look like they could be similar to the XTS. It does look pretty sharp up front, but the back end is really looking good. It's got some taillights that look like a more angled and smaller version of the Escalade's tall tail lamps that go the full length of the C-pillar there, which is a cool and unique kind of design, and I'm glad they kind of went that direction. And it should be pretty sharp looking though. But anyway, that's going to most likely be revealed at the New York Auto Show in April, considering this looks just about production ready from these spy photos here. And Cadillac is now based in New York, so that's their home turf. I feel like there's no better auto show than New York to reveal this car, so that's when I would expect it, end of March, early April. Another small crossover, this one an electric one. So Jaguar, they've been testing these I-Pace EVs everywhere for over a year now, and they're finally saying they're going to be revealing the production version on March 1st ahead of the Geneva Motor Show in their own little private live stream. And they said they're going to be taking orders for it the same day as well. So they're trying to pull a Tesla here and ride the hype of this vehicle. But the hype is justified because as far as electric cars go, this is going to be pretty impressive. They also said, along with the fact that they're going to be revealing it March 1st, they said it's also going to be able to get 80% charged in 45 minutes, which is even better than they were originally claiming. They said originally like 80% charge in 2 hours. So to get it down to 45 minutes, now they say you have to have a 100 kilowatt DC fast charger in order to do that. So that's obviously not super common, but as that gets more and more common, that means you could sit down for dinner, have a meal, and then by the time you're done, you have another 80% charged, ready to go, which is pretty good as far as charging times go. Now, and the concept I-Pace had 400 horsepower, so it wasn't slow either, and 220 miles of range. Now, we'll have to wait and see for the production version if that's tweaked in any way. But anyway, we'll know all the details on March 1st, so interesting to see that. Volvo is also working on an EV, although their first EV is supposedly going to be a hatchback based on the Concept 40.2 that was shown almost 2 years ago. And so this is going to be arriving supposedly in 2019 as, the first of many electric vehicles that Volvo is working on. The next one will most likely be an electric version of the XC40. But anyway, they're saying it's going to be on the same modular architecture as all their other vehicles, target range of 310 miles, which is the going rate, and they're going to offer, of course, various ranges and motors to fit all price points. And we have some interesting news for Porsche enthusiasts this week. So we have some more details on the next-gen Porsche 911 and also a plug-in hybrid version. Yes, you heard that right. So, we knew that one was coming eventually, but according to CEO Oliver Bloom in an automobile report here, the PHEV version will come out, he says, when the market is ready, which according to their analysis will be around 2023. And so, but we'll have to wait and see when that actually comes. But they said supposedly, according to an insider, they're saying it could have a 3-liter flat 6 engine, like the other 911s, but have an E-motor that provides an extra 94 horsepower and an extra 229 pound-feet of torque with a 10.8 kilowatt-hour battery for a total of 485 horsepower, 561 pound-feet of torque, and a 3.5 second 0 to 60 time, supposedly. It seems awfully specific for just, some rumors, but anyway, they said it would also have a button for a 20-second torque boost, like a little NOS button almost with the torque, and also it would have on-demand all-wheel drive here in the e-hybrid version or whatever. And so they said it would have 40 miles of electric range. It would have an augmented reality heads-up display as well. So it's be very, very futuristic for the 911. But they say don't worry too much because there's also a regular next-gen 911 that's going to be revealed in October, and it'll follow the more traditional route. But there's still a little bit of heartbreak there for Porsche fans as well because lots of good news here. Wider rear track for this new one. They're going to have re-engineered flat 6s with better combustion strategies and, all the Porsche witchcraft that they do to give. I don't know how they get these motors so efficient and so powerful, but very impressive stuff. It's also going to have a 48-volt mild hybrid assistance to add an additional 20 more horsepower and 52 more pound-feet of torque per model, supposedly. So with those numbers, you're looking at a 400 horsepower base Carrera, a 450 horsepower Carrera S, a 620 horsepower Turbo S, and they're also saying the new 8-speed PDK is developed, at least for the Turbo S as well. But here's the heartbreaker. They're saying supposedly for this new 992 version, the GT3 for that generation will be getting rid of the naturally aspirated 4-liter glorious flat 6 engine and going with a 3.8-liter twin turbo flat 6 instead that makes 550 horsepower. And I'm sure will be faster, but will almost certainly not sound as good. And probably won't have as high of a red line either. With that the current one I think is like 9,000 RPM, maybe even a little higher. It's so awesome. Man, I really want to drive one of those new GT3s still because all the videos seem amazing. Anyway, the Turbo and GT3 versions won't be shown until like October of next year. So, they're going to be kind of rolling out these models little by little from this October until next October. But it's not all bad news because that 4-liter flat 6 is at least going to make one last appearance here in the Boxster Spider, which they've been going back and forth about whether or not that's actually going to use a 6-cylinder, but it sounds like it's actually going to go to a 6-cylinder for this limited, Spider version, which is going to command a premium. I almost expect that thing to get 911R as far as pricing goes, because that's the Boxster, the 718 Boxsters haven't had these 6-cylinder. It's been all turbo 4-cylinders, even for the GTS. So if they put the 6 back in this, it'd make it like the best Boxster ever, and it'd be one that's a dying breed, it seems. But anyway, so interesting to hear all that. Other German news here is the next-gen BMW M3 was spied yet again, and this time it's in the snow. You can see there's got some new little flares around the wheel arches, which suggest that maybe this thing will have some even more aggressive fenders on it for production. And this is just they're testing these skinnier fenders, just and using those little flares in the meantime. I'm not sure, but Motor One's reporting that it's probably going to continue using the 3-liter bi-turbo inline 6, but have a 48-volt mild hybrid system. Again, everything's using electric boost to get as much as 500 horsepower, they're saying, out of it. It also might offer all-wheel drive as an option, but it wouldn't be standard. So yeah, but apparently this is still a ways off, because the current speculation is saying that this won't be shown until September of 2019 at the Frankfurt Motor Show. So that's a year and a half away. It's really hard for me to envision them still testing this same vehicle for another year and a half, considering this thing's already been spied testing for almost a full year. But who knows? Maybe they're taking their time working on it. But in the meantime, BMW blog is reporting that the current M3 is actually going to end production this May. So it's going to be about a year or so, maybe even 2-year gap where the M3 is not in production. And the M4 is going to continue on. Weird though, because they're saying the M3 is getting killed off a little early because there's this new worldwide harmonized light vehicles test procedure where, at least in Germany, they're requiring all vehicles to have this auto particulate filter from June 2018 onward. But the size of the filter is so large, they can't fit it in the M3 supposedly, but they can fit it in the M4 because they said the M4, they're switching from a carbon fiber drive shaft to a steel one, which is more compact. But why can't they make that same modification to the M3 and still fit it in? I don't know. I mean, obviously the M3, the current one, is going to get killed off pretty soon anyway. But it seems like if they're going to the trouble of making the change for the M4, why not do it for the M3? If you're going to kill the M3, you might as well just kill the M4 too and save your development costs. I don't know, but that's what they decided to do. And yeah, so interesting to hear that. So if you want an M3 and you want to order a new one, you better hurry up and do it soon, because it sounds like you only got a couple more months before they quit building them. Another vehicle that's going to quit being built very soon is Automotive News is reporting that Jeep is going to quit building the old JK Wrangler. So they're currently being built alongside the new JLs. And you can still buy the old last-gen version and order one if you want. But apparently they're going to quit building those on April 7th to allow for retooling to build the Wrangler pickup truck, which means that's coming a little sooner than I think some people thought it was coming. So that could be even as soon as Chicago next week is when they could possibly reveal it. I mean, I'm not sure how long the retooling of the factory is going to take. So maybe this will be a little bit later on, in the late spring, early summer is when we'll see it, and then they'll start building them sometime, Q3 of this year or something. We'll have to see. But anyway, the new Wrangler pickup seems like it's coming in the not too distant future. Another pickup from FCA is Ram has officially revealed the Ram 1500 Longhorn Laramie edition, or Laramie Longhorn, so this is just another level of the Ram that's even more luxurious. Top of the line basically. It's got a bunch more chrome, much more luxurious, with alligator skin pattern on the doors, branded wood on the dashboard, and lots of leather. It even has metal buckles on the back of the seat pockets, so they're really going for the cowboy theme with this Laramie Longhorn there. So yeah, pretty interesting to hear that. But I mean, it looks very plush inside. I mean, that sounds like the best interior to take a road trip in and stuff. Just super comfortable. But anyway, interesting to see that. Chevy was spy testing the refreshed Malibu this past week, which is going to be coming as soon as this spring, supposedly. Could be even the New York Auto Show again. 2019 model year car is supposedly what this will be. It's just a refresh though, so as you can see, it's just tweaked headlights, front bumper, and then in the back end you get some new tail lamps as well that are similar in shape, but come out a little bit further from the body there, and also have some new looks to them there, and also a new rear bumper. But yeah, supposedly we'll be seeing that here fairly soon. Another vehicle that's been spy testing was the next generation Kia K900, which is supposedly going to be revealed also here at the New York Auto Show at the end of March. And so Ward's Auto is reporting that it's going to basically be on the same architecture as the current K900, but they're going to have the wheelbase be slightly longer, so they are tweaking, the chassis and stuff, but it's going to have significantly redesigned styling. So that's, they're definitely going to be, completely different looks there for it. As you can see from the spy shots, headlights Headlights are clearly different, grille, all that type of stuff, taillights. But it's probably going to have the same engines they're saying as well, including the 3.3-liter twin-turbo V6 and the 5-liter V8 still, which is good to see. And there's also going to be a new 10-speed automatic that's going to be coming supposedly for that as well. It's interesting to see that. And the final couple of stories here are also about Kia. And this is an exciting one for those of you that are enthusiasts. So Kia was, I guess Motor Trend was interviewing the Kia Forte product manager, Derek Tai, who said that when they were talking about the Forte, they were saying, hey, is there any, sportier versions coming? And he said, we're not done with the Forte. So we have more exciting products that are coming that I can't speak of. It'll be pretty exciting for the next few years. Which sounds great to me. That sounds like a pretty exciting little teaser there. And so we know that this new Forte, first off, it already looks fantastic, even in standard trim. But it's currently only available, I believe, with a CVT and just, a 4-cylinder, I think 247 or 147 horsepower. But anyway, this new Forte shares the same platform as the Elantra from Hyundai and the Hyundai i30. So whenever he says they have more exciting products, it's going to be pretty exciting for the next few years. So there's like multiple rollouts. So I think we can expect probably a turbo version, considering we have the Elantra Sport. I think it's safe to assume there will be a manual transmission. Hopefully, Forte Sport or Forte Turbo or something. But I'm really hoping if this is based on the i30, then that means they could do the motor from the i30N, which is the 274 horsepower, really awesome sounding engine that we're going to be getting here in the Veloster N from Hyundai. It could really be sweet. You have the Hyundai have their quirky version of the N, and then you have the more practical Forte N. Could be a nice little, thing to do battle with the Civic Type R and a more comfortable and more reserved and attractive look. And then you could also have the standard turbo version to do battle with the Civic Si. Same kind of 200 odd horsepower. I think that would line up very nicely. And so it sounds like Kia's got some cool stuff up their sleeve for the Forte, so stay tuned for that. Sounds like that's going to be good stuff. The last little bit of news here, no surprise to anyone, is that according to Ward's Auto, Kia will have some more announcements soon about a new 7-passenger vehicle. So they have the Sorento, but that's kind of getting old, and they want to have something larger than that, since the Sorento is primarily just a 2-row that has a 3rd row, but it's not the most roomy of 3rd rows, I think. So they want to do a full-on 7-row purpose-built SUV, and that should be coming relatively soon, I guess. So again, they can join the club of everyone else that's rushing to, get their 7-row or 7-seat 3-row crossovers out there. And so anyway, interesting to hear all that. But anyway, that's it for all the news this week, guys. Sorry this one is so long. There's just so much to cover this week. But anyway, thank you guys very much for watching. Let me know all your thoughts in the comments below, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care.